Hey guys, Tina here and welcome to another video. Today I'm filming a review of Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. So if you're looking for a new young adult urban fantasy book that features brave Shadowhunters and a lot of action, this book might just be the right book for you. This review will contain no spoilers, so it's quite safe to watch in case you're just curious about the book. Now before I get to the book, I would just like to briefly explain the world of the Shadowhunters to you in case you are unfamiliar with it. Shadowhunters are basically Nephilim. They're part angels and part human, and their mission in life is to protect humans, or mundanes as they call them, from downwellers. And downwellers are vampires, werewolves, warlocks, demons and fairies, and sometimes those can play with humans and endanger their lives, and it's the Shadowhunters who have to protect them. Lady Midnight is book 1 in the Dark Artifices, which is the latest of Cassandra Clare's trilogies that is currently coming out. And in it we get to meet Emma Carstairs, who stumbles on a series of murders taking place in Los Angeles. And the reason why she's so curious about these murders is that they remind her of the way her own parents were killed, and she decides to investigate. Now naturally she needs help and she enlists the Blackthorn family. The oldest of this bunch of siblings is Julian Blackthorn, who is Emma's parabatai, so there's this really great bond between them. And also he has a lot of younger siblings that he has been taking care of since the death of his own parents. So there's a huge group of children that are basically investigating these murders, and naturally there's a lot of adventure, there's some romance and a lot of intrigue and plot and just a mystery that the reader is sucked into. Now Cassandra Clare's writing is as beautiful as ever. Her writing is really enjoyable and engaging, and I'm always just sucked into her books. The narrative, despite the fact that her books are really descriptive, is never slowed down by that, and I do appreciate that. And also she just knows how to pace the books, There's a bit of action, there's a bit of that, and they're just right somehow. What I do not like about her books is that her chapters tend to be pretty long, and if you're someone who likes to end their reading at the end of the chapter, that might slightly prolong your reading. But you can also actually stop in the middle because her chapters are divided into different scenes. So if you feel like you have to finish in between, or if you have something else to do and you just have to stop reading, you can do that, and that's fine as well. Now the world of the Shadowhunters is really big, and throughout the books Cassandra Clare has added to it, and it's really big and vast, and despite that, she always manages to incorporate some new things into it, as she does in this book. And it feels so real and interesting. There are so many elements that we know very little about, and even as a reader that has read all of her books, when you would expect that, well, what else is there for me to learn, I still get surprised, and it's really great because I think that if you write in the same world, you have to think of that actually, and she does that wonderfully. Now I do have to say that maybe the world of the Shadowhunters is not as well explained in this book as it is in the previous ones, and that is partly because a lot of the readers have been with her since her previous books, and as well for the first time we have characters that have grown up in this world, because in the previous books we have Clary, we have Tessa, who are new to the world, and because of that, as they learn about it, the reader learns about it as well. But Emma and Julian, they grew up in this world, everything is normal for them, so you really get a bit more sort of like a fast course of it, and it's not as detailed, the explanation is not as detailed. You have to pick up things on your own as you go, and maybe that is something that is not for everyone. If you want to start with reading Cassandra Clare's books, maybe this is not the book that you should start with. It's up to every individual reader, of course, to decide, but you have to be aware of that. Also, there might be potential spoilers for other books because some events are mentioned, of course, that have happened in the previous books, and there's also characters that make reappearances, and you might learn who has actually survived, who the couples are and all that. So if you do not want to get spoiled for the previous books, if things like this bother you, maybe you really should start with the reading order as they were published actually. But if you do not care about that, I think this is a perfectly good start to, to her writing and her books. It was not my favorite first book in any of her, series. That is still Clockwork Angel. But despite that, I have to say, because, this was a reread for me, and I don't think I enjoyed this book as much the first time around, but I really took my time with it this time around, and I did like it a lot. I also have to mention her characters. While I do not always love them, because some of them are annoying, I do like that they're so very fleshed out, they're so complex, they're so quirky and human, and they feel real. And as a reader, I never have a problem distinguishing one from the other, which I do appreciate, because sometimes when you have this huge cast of characters and you cannot tell who is who, that's annoying, right? And that's never the case with her books. Yes, maybe the younger characters, the younger siblings, are not as fleshed out as the rest of the cast, but that's only because they do not play such a big role in the book. But still, you do know, who Tavi is, you know who Drusilla is, and you do not mix them up at all. I think a lot of readers would agree that Ty Blackthorne is just the cutest kid, and it's really easy to love him. He is troubled, he has issues, he has, he's slightly weird in a good way, and it's really easy to love him. And Emma, as the main female character, is really strong and tough, and she's independent, and she's, a lot of what young girls should aspire to, even though she sometimes does make irrational choices and decisions. And, she's not completely without problems. But to me, I still have to say that I think Julian Blackthorne was my favorite character out of them all. He is a young he's a teenager, he's young, yes, and he has been living with this responsibility, this huge burden of raising his siblings, being their parent, not actually having a childhood himself as such. And he has, had a lot of other responsibilities, on his shoulders as well, aside from raising his siblings, which I think would be a lot for any kids to deal with. And he's really good, and he has been making all these sacrifices, and as you can imagine, sometimes they weigh on him. And yes, sometimes he wants to make selfish decisions and all that. And I just really like him that he does not do that. But yeah, we do see that he has a slightly darker side as well, he's not all white, which makes him even more interesting, and I'm really rooting for him, because I would not want to be in his shoes at all. But I really like the way that he is and what he did with his family. He raised a great bunch of kids, and that is something that is hard to do. Before I end this review, I also want to touch upon the diversity in Cassandra Clare's books. Now, I feel that she was always sort of in the forefront about writing diverse characters in her books. That has been the case since City of Bones came out, and Lady Midnight is no different. We have characters of color, we have characters that have different sexualities, as well as actually two characters that are dealing with mental health issues. And I think her books are all the richer for that, and I do recommend them. And as I mentioned, there's also a lot of adventure and fighting and mystery and humor, as well as romance, even the forbidden kind, in this book. So if you're even slightly interested, just pick the book up and see for yourself whether or not you like it. And basically that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know down in the comments if you have read this book and how you felt about it. And thank you for watching this video, and see you in my next one. Bye!